I am an average runner who loves cake, sausages and chips. I sometimes do well in races and other times I blow up spectacularly. But I've always wondered, how different is a pro athlete's day in comparison to mine? What they eat, when they train, what their training is, and generally what they do in their day. And luckily, I know one, and he's a good friend. Enter Vlad Ixel. Vlad is a North Face ultra runner who you might have seen in my Squid Game video or even at the start of Mary's UTMB race, which Vlad, by the way, won by 10 minutes. He's the founder of Bix Hydration and generally just a top dude, so I asked Vlad to record his day so I could compare it to my day. So let's see just how different our days are, what makes Vlad a pro and what makes me a passionate amateur. Please don't let it be cake. The first thing I do with my day, every single day, weekend or not, is I get up, I go downstairs and I make breakfast. And it's a very simple, repeatable, but I really like it. And it's simply porridge oats, a little bit of granola, then I go chopped apple, chopped pineapple, chopped mango, chopped banana, sometimes papaya, but a lot of fruit, wham on a vanilla Greek yogurt, and I'm happy days, I'm good to go. And that sets me up for the day. And you probably noticed that it's a pretty big portion, but I've just found with such a physical job like PE teaching, I cannot get to lunchtime with anything less than what I eat. One thing I'm very proud of, and it's about 6:30 a.m, is that I think since we've lived in Thailand, and that's been 18 months, we've had breakfast on this balcony pretty much every day that we've been in this house. And that was part of the dream when we moved here. It was, I mean, look at this.
So pretty much for the last few months I have been sleeping in an altitude tent. Anyway, first thing I do is I actually have a big glass of water, but straight after that big glass of water I have a coffee, usually oat milk, and then I'll have a quick snack mix. Straight after that I'll jump on the computer and I'll do some work. So this is probably around 6:37 a.m. I'll check my emails usually, and then I will get ready for my first session of the day.
And at about 7 a.m. for us, Mary and I cycle into work, and it might be one of my favourite points in the day actually, because I've always dreamed of having this job where I'll be able to cycle to and I don't have to drive a car. And although sometimes we do, if we have to do something after work, most of the time we just get to cycle in together. And you'll probably see, yes, we're not wearing helmets, but we cycle on the pavement and we cycle slowly. So we're good, I promise you, we're safe. And just that little bit of physical exercise every day just sets us up. I mean, but look at this, look at the sun rising. And that means we get into work by 7:15.
I'm actually doing a set of stairs today. The session is stairs, so I obviously drove there, Kings Park in Perth. This is pretty much like the highest point in Perth. So this is Kings Park. Perth is super flat, so this is 50 meters above sea level, and it's a set of 226 stairs. And the way I look at it is this time of the year I do a lot of hiking on them, so I go down slowly, go up slowly, and just kind of trying to get the legs a bit stronger. As I get closer towards races, that hiking will move into running, and then I would also go a bit harder on the downhills. Usually I would do that about 10 times, so about 45 minutes. I'll get about just over 500 meters of elevation gain, but a kind of an important session, especially in the lead up to other races later on the year.
And then I guess depending on what happens with my day, I'm actually sitting at my desk doing work or I'm teaching lessons. And on this day, obviously you can see I was sitting at my desk that morning. And whilst Vlad at about 9 a.m. makes himself a super healthy smoothie with ingredients that I've never even heard of, like spinach, something like that, I tend to try and hold myself till about 10 a.m. when I'll have something like a satsuma or an apple. And I know, yes, very well aware what people think PE teachers do. People think that we just stack cones into the right colours and demonstrate good techniques. We pump up balls, we take balls back. We're just generally very encouraging to the children. What's that? You've been sick? Good. Keep going. Keep going.
So I usually start the packing process of all the orders. So I put them all out. I'll start packing them. That usually does take a bit of time, you know, kind of a personalized thank you note. I'm pretty much ready for lunch, and then usually I would have something like a gluten-free wrap with avocado and a little bit of tofu. We got a bit of like leftover hummus from the night before, so again, that is my source of protein. And yeah, pretty basic, 2 of them for lunch, and then I'll get back on the computer and do a lot more work.
And for me, I eat lunch about 12:20 every day, and it's pretty standard, to be honest with you. My option can be pretty regular and pretty consistent, and I tend to have just chicken breast, broccoli and rice. Boring but repeatable. And then obviously I go back to teaching and encouraging the kids. Yeah, 10,000 meters today, guys. 10,000 meters, that's what we're running. And it's just 40 degrees, you'll be fine.
I'll pack more, so a couple more orders that would have came through the day. I'll kind of keep packing them on my way to my second training session. So I'll get everything ready. So this is probably around 3 o'clock by now, so I'm getting ready for my second session. I'll have a quick snack before that second run, so about an hour from the second run, you know, a bit more. So now I'm okay with bread. So this is normal kind of wholemeal bread, sourdough wholemeal bread with some almond butter, and that's just to make sure that I have enough calories throughout the day. So around kind of 4:15, I usually do my second session, and you know, sometimes I take Lily. Lily has been just lying on the couch for the past few hours, so she's pretty ready to go. So I take her on some of the easy runs. Today is pretty much a 60-minute easy run, about 14k, probably around 4:10 pace. I have been training with some faster guys, but I make sure that I get to the session about 10-15 minutes before, so I can do a couple of drills. But it's also, I think it's a good way of staying away from injuries. But yeah, luckily in Perth, I actually get to train with Matt Ramson. He's a 13:25k runner. He can probably run about 28 minutes for a 10k, which, you know, for me, that's insane. Another guy that I train quite a lot with is Luke Burrows. He's about 13:40 for a 5k, maybe 13:45. So Lily kind of loves those runs because she feels like she's part of the group. She does get really, really excited when she knows all the guys are kind of there for the run. And then we would start pretty slow. You know, they obviously haven't done the same drills that I have done, so they start pretty slow. But then we kind of get rolling. And I think that consistency of their training is something that I've kind of learned in the past few years, that you want to make sure that you are pretty consistent with your training, with your effort, and it's more about getting similar weeks done week after week after week. So we get that 1 hour run done.
And then anywhere between probably around 4 to 5 o'clock, I get to go home. Sometimes I get to cycle home with Mary, sometimes I cycle home on my own if Mary's a bit busier than me, and then I can get myself out on my run, my one training session of the day. And in this case, it was a 45-minute run along the river, and it was a nice and easy run. It was something I'd been looking forward to all day. Distances and the amount I train in the week really actually depend on where I'm at in my training cycle. So I've just had my end of season break after the 100km UTMB race. Kind of did nothing for 3 weeks, so I'm building back carefully. I'm really only averaging about 40 to 50 kilometers a week at this point. I train 6 times a week, usually 6 sessions, and that varies between strength and conditioning, cycling and running.
This run was either going to be an hour or 10 kilometers, which would be about 45 minutes if I run easy, because it would depend on what time I got home from work. So if I got home from work at 5, then I knew I'd be able to run for an hour until 6. But as it happened, I got home from work at 5:15, or I got out for the run at 5:15, and I knew if I wasn't back by 6, I have to walk the dogs, then I have to have dinner, and then I've got to work on this video until I go to sleep, and everything just creeps back a little bit. So I don't have that flexibility. It was going to be an hour or it was going to be 10k. Turns out 10k. Wish it was an hour, but very glad I'm getting out here and making it happen regardless. And I guess Vlad just has that ability to make his training fit into his day because it's what he's paid to do. That's his job. And man, I'm jealous, but you know, fair play to Vlad.
You could be forgiven for thinking I'd be depressed watching Vlad's training, but actually I'm nothing but in awe of Vlad. I mean, I love watching people getting after it, and I mean, his second run was longer than my only run of the day, and he runs 13 times a week to my 3 or maybe 4. Or when I was in my biggest phase, I was at about 7 runs per week, and I was probably topping out. The most I've ever done is 95 kilometers in a week, and he's repeating 160 kilometer weeks, which is amazing.
So I'd come home, have a shower. Luckily my wife's already made dinner. This is super basic kind of leftovers probably from the day before, which is tofu, rice, vegan sausages, a bit of potato, a little bit of some vegetables. And then what I have been doing is having non-alcoholic beers, which you know, a little bit more calories, but also a nice way to refresh. It is summer in Australia, so it's really hot. Obviously I like beers, but alcohol is not great.
And after the training, or pretty much whatever we do that evening when we first get back home from work, we then just take the doggos out, just go for a walk with the doggos. I would love to run with the dogs like Vlad does, honestly. If you've been with the channel for ages, you'll know Winnie is a runner, but it's just too hot for her here. It's just regularly above 30 degrees, so we have to walk with the dogs, but that's okay. And that gets us to dinner time, usually about 6:30 in the evening. And this one here was a mixed bean chili with rice and avocado. Don't judge me on the ketchup, I have a bit of a thing for it, but in general, we try to have a nice healthy diet, because honestly, if you've again followed the channel for a long time, then you'll know that I am really weak when it comes to sweet food. I have zero willpower, so I just craft my environment to make sure that there is nothing in here that I can fall into that trap.
After dinner I usually do a little bit of computer work, maybe about half an hour, and then I'll get into some recovery. So massage gun pretty much every single night. It's something that I feel like definitely helps. You know, if you have a car and you service it on a regular basis, less chances that it will break down in the middle of the highway. So that's the way I look at my recovery. So I make sure I do it every day, even if nothing hurts. Usually get a little bit of foam rolling, some mobility work. Most nights I would do strength work as well. So 10-15 minutes of strength work. I think that day was already a bit late, so this is around 10 o'clock at night.
And same with me, most of the evenings I'll either work on videos, or I'll work on all of the coaching programs that I put together for people, or I'll do something on the laptop whilst maybe sometimes I'm watching TV, and I'll have either my leg compressors, which I did in this case, sometimes the foam roller, sometimes the massage gun. I'm like Vlad, I try and keep on top of my prehab, if you like, to try and keep myself in the game, which I think is absolutely crucial. Yeah, and I try to get to sleep by 10 as well. I mean, watching this, what has really clearly stood out to me is that Vlad and I are both aiming to be as consistent as possible, but just within the realms of what we have going on in our lives. And for me, it's a full-time job at work where I can't train twice a day, or if I can, it would be literally at 5 AM and then 5 PM. But also my job is so physical, walking around all day, that I just can't get the volume as high as 160 kilometers like Vlad. It's just not possible for me, and that's okay. Really, as Vlad mentioned before, it's about consistency, about staying in the game, doing whatever you can to do that. And if that means consistency of diet, it means consistency of training, it means consistency of everything you do, then that is what keeps you going, and that is where you'll eventually see improvements no matter what level that you're at. I can't thank Vlad enough actually for being part of this. He's such a top dude. If anyone's interested in ordering Bix hydration, then as I say, this video is not made for that, but I really want to support people that I know that have created these companies from scratch and are runners themselves. So there is a code, I'll put it at the bottom of the screen, MESSAP15 for 15% off your first order. And then check out this video here where I tried to train like a 2:20 marathoner, but within my 60-hour week. It was a pretty different experience, and that was one with Nick Bester. If you've enjoyed the content, consider subscribing, but never any hard sell. And I'll see you Wednesday for a race special, because we're racing this weekend, Konkan half marathon. Keep your fingers crossed for us. See you Wednesday.